Samuel had good big windows put in. When the weather is fine, it is pleasant to have a parlour that looks out over the garden.
I like the colour of this little fuming pot. It is a little worn and not of as great value as many of our possessions, but the green and yellow of it puts me in mind of a fresh summer meadow and the healthy air of the country. I like the smell of herbs and spices which comes from it once the charcoal inside it is lit. Rosemary, juniper, sometimes lavender. It is a pleasing scent. It eases my mind when I am preoccupied with the weight of work or of church matters, and sometimes even causes my thoughts to drift to the smell of church or the airs that rise from tasty dishes on our dinner table. There are too many bad smells in this world. The street before this house stinks of manure and piss. So, God bless her, does the tanner's daughter, for they use urine to make their fine soft leather. Worst is the stink of sickness, of liquids purged from the diseased body, of sweat and fever, of flesh going bad. They say the scent from this little pot cleanses the air in a house, burns away the bad airs that arise and instill the plague in people who breathe them. May God grant that be true. There is talk of more sickness on the coast, and the thought of it coming here makes me shiver. We've not lost as much as some, but we have lost enough, and I do not care to endure again the sight of many bodies and the weeping of mothers. I think, if I am honest, we cannot stop these things with a little pot of smells. Death stalks us always, and God will take us if he so wishes. But yet he has kept us safe so far, and we must trust in him always. In the meantime, all we can do is burn our herbs and turn our little fuming pots to clear the air around us, and pray. I will take out my desk box to finish my accounts. I remember when I bought this. I had seen it in the home of Mr. Kent, where I was apprentice. When he died, God rest his soul, I reckoned with his wife to have it for a good price. I had always admired it, and its surface still held his scratches and ink stains. My own also from when he trained me up. I always liked the smell of the oak wood. I remember I was merely starting out on my own when I had this desk box first. Joan and I were recently married. I liked that I could sit here and read my business letters and write my accounts, and sometimes she would sit and watch me. I felt I was quite the important man. And then at the end of the day I would lock up all my papers in this drawer. I think the first 6 months I stored all my letters and bills in here until they grew too many and I revised my system. The work I've done with it. It was an honour to be elected as church warden for St Mary's Parish. When Mr Killick invited me to serve alongside him, I felt that weighty hand of responsibility fall on my shoulder, and also humble that my work here must be the choice of God. I will confess I had hoped for some years to be useful in this way, and am now ready to set to work. Accounting is a skill which marks a man out, and my hand is a reasonable one. However, I will not deny that it is easier for me to complete the records here at home in my chamber by the warmth of the fire, rather than in the little room of the church where the Yesterday evening we held a gathering in this room. Our neighbours came to eat, and then read the scriptures with us. I brought out this new Bible and read from the Judgment of Solomon for our small party, joined by our household servants for this profitable instruction. And so I sat, as I do every evening, in public prayer with my family. It was a scene as harmonious as my wife's playing on her virginals. After the reading, I led questions on the scripture passage for us to digest. What are we to think of Solomon, the wise king, called upon by his people to judge?
I see you are admiring my book, Mr. Killick. Please do so. It's an exceeding fine depiction of the progress of our new King James into the city of London after his first coming down from Scotland. I recall the city was near wild to welcome him. He had to wait for his arrival for near a year because he delayed to preserve himself from the most terrible outbreak of plague. The words here are quite as I remember it. Oh yes, indeed, Mr. Killick, I was present to witness the arrival of our blessed king. My wife too, her excitement was so great I could not persuade her. I welcomed a party of my friends from the parish council to my parlour this evening for a cup of my beer and to smoke a pipe. Attention turned to this engraving. Mr. Samuel Pike asked me to describe it as he has been blind in one eye since his fall from his horse. Why, said I, here you see 2 attempts upon our English monarchs by popish plotters who would have turned our country back to the yoke of Roman Catholicism. Here on the left, this horseshoe of ships is the Armada sent from Spain to enslave England in the year 1588 of our Queen Elizabeth. Here on the right... Ah, it is good to sit. It may be the middle of the working morning, and idle hands are the devil's workshop, but I think that God will not begrudge me a few minutes' rest in my new chair by this warm fire.
Look to the skull and think, memento mori, remember you must die. So many times has Master Samuel told me this, almost every time he presses that seal to the wax. I have thought of death many times, and thought of the blessed joy of being with my father and mother once again with God. I take comfort now in looking to the next.
To think that my mother had to practically chain me to the chair in order to learn. Oh, how I loathed those early lessons. I had neither my sister's dexterous fingers nor her ear for song. I must admit I still do not, though practice and discipline have lessened the gap between us. Oh, and I found music and needlepoint to be torturous in my youth. My brother Thomas once told me I had the hands of a bricklayer. So I said he had the curls of a milkmaid, and it was our foremost.
This is a good carpet. It is not one of the turkey work imitations they weave in Windsor. You can tell from the colours. It is a real turkey carpet, all the way from the east. I will do my best not to spill ink on it, as I did when I was a young lawyer, doing work for a merchant in London. To my shame, I covered it up with papers to hide what I'd done.